I want you to get together.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the NEPHILIM Look Like Clowns. Today I'm going to cover a few topics, but I want to start by mentioning something I found very interesting as a kind of extracurricular topic within all of this, and it's the Solomonarii of Romanian folklore. Now, the Solomonar is a wizard believed in Romanian folklore to ride a dragon and control the weather, causing rain, thunder, and hailstorm. They are recruited from common folk and taught their magic at the Solomonarii, or the Solomancy, which is kind of a school for magic. The Solomonars are said to be tall, red-haired, wearing long white robes of peasants, sometimes woolen or clad in ragged attire made from patches. And I just thought it was interesting from that general description that we are talking about something similar to a clown. White skin, long white robes, red hair, to be tall like a giant, and to be clad in ragged attire made from patches. And we know the patchwork motif is another common clown motif. And this may be a loose connection, but if you bear with me, I think there is some strong bearing as to the original source of the circus and the clowns, and this story here to do with freemasonry. So if we just go on to read a bit more here, it says, when not helping the devil, they are most often seen around begging for alms and collecting coins thrown into the river as offerings to the water spirits. The contents of their magic bag are instruments such as an iron axe used as a lightning rod, also a wand to summon them, or his mount, I assume that's to summon the dragons, a book of wisdom which contained all their knowledge as well. So this is just so strange. Apparently this book is the source of all their power. A branch that has killed a snake is included in some lists. Once they are in the guise of a beggar, often crippled and blindfolded, they blend in with the populace, so they cannot be distinguished as wizards. They apparently have the knowledge and memory of which peasant's farm deserves his retribution, when he acts out as a dragon rider sending down his hailstorm. What a terrifying, horrible thing to have in your culture, you know. Now, I don't know if this is just echoing a memory of some kind of ancient, perhaps even pre-flood situation in which a priestly class of genetically engineered magic people who rode dragons kept people in line through their religious order and through fear of the monstrous animals and dragons they rode, or if this is a more modern situation. If we go on to read about it, it does seem like in modern Romanian folklore, this is still considered to be a real thing. So in terms of schooling, the Solomonarii are recruited from the people. They are taught their magic and speech of animals at the school, the Solomancy, and they become capable of riding dragons. Tradition says they became the devil's students, either being instructed by him or becoming a servant to his commands. So these are openly, linked to devil worship. They are openly admitting here that, we worship the devil and we gain our powers from worship of demons and the devil. Interesting. An additional belief was that the students were taught at the devil's school, which was situated underground, and the students avoided the rays of the sun for 7 years during their study. They were in fact a type of vampire. So that's interesting too. What I'm getting at here is I think this is a description of a form of NEPHILIM. Having the red hair, the pale skin, being very tall like a giant, having magical abilities they probably inherited from their angelic fathers, having angelic properties. They seem to be mixed in with the populace. And it says later on here that they were chosen because at birth they had a strange membrane around them, which differed them from a normal human at birth. And that's how they knew to choose them and, basically raise them in these devil schools to be one with dragons. So bizarre. So bizarre. One way in which this belief was articulated was that a particular pupil, out of the graduating class of 10, would be selected by the devil to become the designated weather maker. I mean, this is so strange, or at least to become his aide, the devil's aide. Thirdly, the Solomonar would fly up to the skies. Whenever his dragon glanced at the clouds, rainfall would come. But God intervened to keep the dragon from growing too weary, lest it plummeted and devoured a great part of the earth. That's another strange nomenclature there. So if we look here, we can find a few ideas behind what people think this is talking about. One hypothesis is that it's a King Solomon analogue, or perhaps a Zeus analogue, though this doesn't seem to be the most popular one. Another is the Red Jews hypothesis. The Solomonarii have been described as red-haired giants. A connection to them and the legendary Red Jews has been suggested by Adrian Majuru. This hypothesis builds on Lazar's theory that giant/Jews in Romanian folklore derive from the historical Khazars, and Arthur Koestler brought the notion of the Red Jews into the formulation, which is very interesting. Another story here is that this is just a retelling of an older story of even more ancient Romanian culture, of the Dacian culture that predates Romania. They had a similar type of character called the Kiste, if I can pronounce that right. Now, these things were said to be the original Solomonarii. It said they were more called the Kiste, meaning one who abstained from worldly pleasures, so kind of like monk-class priests. And in that cryptic by name, it said that it also means smoke treaders, or travellers in the clouds. So these are beings that could fly, presumably on the back of a dragon, I suppose is where the theory comes from. The theory has found its strong proponent in Eugene, who pronounced that the origins of the Solomonarii had been established and the Dacian cloud travellers must have been authentic Solomonarii. He says, while enticing, the hypothesis remains only as plausibility. He points out that a tradition kept alive from Caesar's time to the 19th century presents a credibility issue, since there is a complete vacuum in the records about any of it for the 1900-year interim. So this is mainly considered speculation, this idea. It seems like no one actually knows what their deal is, or where they came from, or why these things are around as theories they can loosely understand, from Wikipedia's perspective anyway. But from my research and what I've been looking into, I think what we're seeing here is just a continuation, or if not just a telling of the story of the serpent priests who controlled the antediluvian age, while the fallen angels ruled over man as the pantheon of gods. They also had their offspring on the earth, controlling mankind as kings and rulers. And I think this is just another example of a particular ruler class entity created by the fallen angels by manipulating the genome of man and creating this NEPHILIM hybrid creature called a Solomonar, which was very tall, features they would have picked up from their reptilian or avian-like fathers. They were born with a strange membrane that wasn't considered normal or human, and those with the membrane would have magical abilities and would therefore get transferred to and trained within a particular magic school in order to be a priestly class that lords over the civilization. Now, I did a reading in my book recently just about this. If you go to one of my recent videos here, if you go to my channel, I have two main playlists. The NEPHILIM Look Like Clowns at the top here, and the Truth to Therapy sessions just below. And the most recent Truth to Therapy session, as you can see, is What is a Siren here. And I give a hour-long presentation going through a lot of flood myths of the ancient past, and one particular flood myth from the Canary people of Ecuador. Now, I'm going to try and summarize it all here, but if you go watch that video, you can find a full presentation breaking this down in deep detail. So the Canary people, they had this origin story from a flood, or a post-flood story of how the earth got repopulated. And it's different from most other flood myths, but this is from the perspective of two survivors who probably weren't good people, because everyone in the antediluvian age was corrupt to the core, hence why the flood came. But what's interesting is that they continued to mate with hybrid bird-like creatures. So if we read here briefly, two brothers climbed to the top of a mountain when the floods came, and they feared for their lives. Once the rain subsided, the brothers found themselves alone as the only survivors of a great flood. As the waters began to recede, the brothers started a new life. None of their friends and family had survived, and they were alone. They built a small house on the mountainside, and they survived by eating whatever the hell they could find on the floor, basically. And then, sooner or later, while foraging for food, they found a cave in which they found lots of food just prepared there. So they drank it and ate it, and they were satisfied. And they wondered, where's this food coming from? No one had survived the flood, so how could it just appear? But they came day after day and found that the food was always there, and they kept eating it. One morning they approached the cave and saw 2 birds soaring in the sky. They circled the brothers, then landed, flapping their colourful wings. The brothers could see that these beautiful and brightly coloured macaws were actually 2 women. They had prepared the meals and the chicha and placed them in the cave. The 2 young men fell in love, and with the sun and the moon and the stars bearing witness, the brothers soon married these creatures and basically repopulated the earth. Or at very least the area of Ecuador in which the Canary people are based. So the Canary people believe themselves to be the very descendants of these 2 brothers who mated with these hybrid bird women. Interesting. Now I told you to give this a watch, this video, because it explains what we're dealing with here, and these are called sirens. Sirens are an ancient thing from Greek stories. They originally came in half woman, half bird form, summarizing quickly here. And they were said to lure men to their deaths, or to lure men into having sex with them, or something like that, through their song. In the future, they got stylized more as mermaid women, or hybrid women of some kind with a serpent tail, be it a fish tail or a bird's body of some kind, or even the mix of all of them. What these sirens, from what I've deduced and explained in this video, is that they are actually the women who mated with angels and created the NEPHILIM. It was said in the book of Enoch that they became sirens. Now, I don't know if becoming like this was merely a side effect of having sex with an angel. It was just the inevitable result. It just comes with the territory, shall we say. Or if this was perhaps a punishment from God for having sex with angels. Or, as a third option, this was a genetically modified gift to the women as a thank you for allowing them to create the NEPHILIM through them. I don't know the exact reason, but what I do know is they are the women who mated with the angels. And it seems like from this story from Ecuador is that they survived the flood because they could fly and or swim. And once the waters receded, they came to land and began to mix themselves once again with humans and create more hybrids. So this kind of explains how the NEPHILIM survived after the flood as well. The genes were continued through from hybrid creatures. And if you look at a macaw, it's a very psychedelic looking bird. It even has the black and white fractaled patterns echoing on its face here, as you can see. And it has these multicolored beautiful feathers. It comes in many colors and forms. And I do believe, we say that NEPHILIM look like clowns and they inherited these colorful features from their parents. I do believe a lot of the angels not only had reptilian features, and reptiles are psychedelic enough, but I think they also had very bird-like avian features as well, which they passed on to their children. So Quetzalcoatl was said to be a feathered serpent. So feathers were involved. So I think angels, or these serpent-class angels, were a hybrid of many animalistic forms themselves. And again, those features got passed down to their children, and along with magical properties. And also those features seem to pass on to the people they slept with as well, and turn them into these bird-like creatures. Just interesting how it all connects. Now, how this connects to clowns loosely is, again, we're looking at the aesthetics of a clown being so colourful and so bright and psychedelic, with the polka dots and the stripes and the patchwork images and the red hair and the white skin. We see the red hair, white skin motif with the Solomonarii, which I seem to think are another form of hybrid, if not a NEPHILIM themselves. who were placed into positions of religious power over people, making sure that the people worshipped the dragons, the fallen angels, while also keeping them in line with fear through magic power and destruction. They have these features. They were born different from other humans and selected because of this from the people, because they then would have magical properties. So it's as though the serpent seed, the Nephilim seed, was mixed in with the people, and when the Nephilim were born, they were taken quickly and trained to be these wizards, I guess we can call them. These wizards are very similar to the Greybeards in Skyrim, which are said to be reclusive wizards who live in the sky among the clouds, so skywalkers, as they were described as in the Dracian religion. And they can communicate with dragons and speak the dragon's language, and they can ride dragons. And it's just fascinating when you think about these connections. That's what this game is even talking about. It's a very popular game called Skyrim. These are the Solomonarii, by any extent. And they have a power not given to normal humans. They have the ability to absorb the souls of dragons, which is very bizarre. So just interesting, guys. Again, just some extracurricular information there. I found this one particular artist who paints these clown-looking entities here, and he says he's venerating the ancestors of his culture in Romania. And look at them all laughing with these clownish grins, and these are representations, I believe, of the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim. I believe this aesthetic is where we get the clown from. I believe a lot of modern Freemasonry who venerate the clown, such as the Shriners as well. And let's not forget, it was Freemasons, as I mentioned in another video here, this Truth or Therapy session, who created the Circus, the Ringling Brothers. They created what we know as the modern day clown, or the image of a clown. And what they're doing is venerating their entities, their gods, by creating this show, which to the initiated is a display of their religion, but to the uninitiated, it's just a bunch of silly humans dressed in silly clothes entertaining the children, If you again watch this video I made, where I did a long presentation, I go deep into just the roots of the clown in the modern day and who really invented it, and it all comes from Freemasonry. And they are the modern day versions, the Western versions of serpent worship cults from the antediluvian past. The Solomonarii are an ancient member of the same cult, a serpent worshipping cult, who in their own descriptions are said to have clown-like features, to be tall, red-haired, while wearing white. Interesting. It's all connected, I believe. So again, this is just a bit of an extracurricular one. I've had a lot of fun with this one. So if you haven't, guys, already, please go and check out this live section here. I do a live show every Sunday at 9 p.m. GMT time. I think that's 5 hours ahead of Eastern Standard Time, so that's about 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Americans. Every Sunday night, I do a show and I give a presentation that goes into a lot of deeper stuff that I just can't cover in these shorter videos for the Nephilim Look Like Clown series, but I think you'll find a lot of value in them. A lot of value. I'm probably going to make a video about the Ringling Clowns, of something a bit more concise for this, but still, very fascinating. Just another side note, guys, to finish. I have updated my Patreon. I've started to reveal my posts, anything written, to those who contribute $5, so £4.50 a month. And then I'm also going to begin to create exclusive videos for those who contribute $10 or more a month. Now, these videos are probably going to be early access, so they will eventually end up on my actual main channel. Some of them may not. I'm not withholding information with these videos. They're probably going to be more personal chats, more exploration into the psychology behind believing in these things, and just extracurricular bonus content that goes behind me creating these videos and where my research leads me. There are plenty of posts already on there to discover for just $5 a month. I appreciate all my patrons who already contribute. I'm so thankful. I will be posting regular snippets of my book on Patreon as well. So again, for $5 a month, you can get access to reading some passages from the book in progress. But other than that, guys, thanks for listening to this one. I will be back on Sunday, like I said, with the live show. And I'm also going to be releasing a exclusive video for Patreon only as well this week. But thanks for listening, guys. I appreciate it. And as always, God bless.
I want you to get together.